Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of DreamTraxx Live and Uncut. Today, I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, an actor you guys all might recognize from Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, and he's has that famous "Get Some" and "Ain't War Hell" line. Hey, Tim, thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
You're looking good. You're looking good.
Well, you know, getting a lot older these days. I mean, white's coming out of my chin now.
Oh, wow.
I feel young, though. I feel good.
That started with me a long time ago. I was in my 30s, and this was almost already.
That's true.
You're doing good because so I want to welcome you to the show. I've been wanting to have you for a long time. I know you're always busy, so I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk with us. Now, our show is generally focused toward actors and people in the industry, so we'll be talking a little bit more toward those lines. But for those of you who are with us, I'll be talking to Tim here for about 25 minutes, and then after that, we'll go into the Q&A section. So please, wait for about 20 minutes before you start plugging your questions in there. I will then read the questions off to Tim, and he can answer those. So please be patient. We've got a lot of talk about. Tim's had a great career in the business. And so the first thing, I want to talk about is, hey, you just did a video called one of Stanley Kubrick's tortured actors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. My friend Michael Bean, who was Johnny Ringo, Tombstone, met him when we were shooting Full Metal Jacket. He came into Vegas to do a signing. And we got together. He says, I got an extra day at the hotel. We can just hang out. And we started reminiscing how we met, early 32-year-old guys in these big films, best buddies ever since. And he got back to LA and goes, Tim, I want people to know now that Stanley Kubrick's passed, what you went through. And he got this writer friend of his named Jim Anderson that worked with ICM and all the big wigs as a writer and a reader. The three of us got on the phone and we started going over my story, what I went through with Stanley. And it got in the Hollywood Reporter like 35 years later. And I've been offered like 3 different film companies come to me now and want to do a film about it. And this guy who did the tortured actor, I don't know where he got his material. He never once contacted me. But it was interesting because right after that article, here comes this visual that's pretty good. There's only a couple of things that aren't accurate. One of the inaccurate things is he said that I didn't want to blow my voice out with the extras. So I went on home and I would have never done that. And I didn't do that. I was never worried about me blowing my voice out or not, being too tired. I'm not that kind of guy. Right. So, but other than that, it was pretty accurate. And it's kind of great now. I don't have to tell that story anymore. But I guarantee you're going to make me tell it today. And I don't want to tell it anymore.
I'm not going to make you tell it. But let's while we're on the subject, let's talk about Full Metal Jacket. So originally, you were supposed to be the drill sergeant that went to Lee Emery, right?
Yeah. Interesting, going way back. 1982, I had done like 6 commercial nationals and 1 film, and wanted to do films, but nobody wanted to hire me because I had never done anything. So I never wasn't given the opportunity. And then when Stanley was casting single by tapes, like we're kind of doing nowadays, that you had to send him a tape, but that was VHSs back then. And I went out with a big kid right out of boot camp. I said, "Can I yell at you?" And I acted like a drill instructor, screaming at this guy, and wore the hat and rented the belt. That's all I put. And I kind of improv the rest of the outfit and yelled at him, And this kid was so not an actor, but he just got out of boot camp. That was I was screaming at him. He started smiling and laughing because he wasn't an actor. And I stayed in character. You think it's funny? Let's get down and do some push-ups. And I started yelling at him with this dialogue, right? And 3 years went by. I forgot all about the tape I sent Stanley. 3 years later, completely forgot about it. And I get this phone call saying they're really interested in me and this other guy. He was brilliant. He was splendid. He was lovely. And then I said, he's in the Marine Corps. They're not going to let him out do a film no matter how big Stanley thinks he is. This guy's still in the Marines for at least another year. And they called me back 3 days later, said we found him. He's on leave in Hermosa Beach. We want you to direct them through these 3 scenes and send them back to us.
Wow.
So I hadn't seen this kid in 3 years.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I told you they might want to use you. Did I tell you they might want to use you too? And he couldn't act. And he had that scene where I go, this is my rifle. They may like it, but this one's mine. He couldn't do it. And I would go, I can't hear you. I think I did a couple of those. That's all I did. And I sent the tape back. 3 days later, I got a phone call from Warner Brothers. Hello, Tim. This is President of Warner Brothers. This is Louis Blau. Tim, I have a tremendous amount of faith in Stanley Kubrick. Tim, Stanley Kubrick has a tremendous amount of faith in Tim Colceri. I took the phone, ran out to the window, and put my head out and went, Stanley Kubrick has a tremendous amount of faith in me. Yes, sir. Come on down and sign your contracts. And I'm thinking, what kind of contract? If I got one line in this Marine film with this great director with my credentials, I would have been thrilled. And when I got there and he said, you got the best role in the film, you play the role of the drill instructor. And he reached under the desk and he handed me the script. And I didn't even go back to the elevator. I went right out to the stairway and sat there and started reading. And this character didn't stop talking for 60 pages. And it wasn't like dialogue, you talk, I talk. It was a long monologue,
Right.
you know? So to lose that role, it's sad because I talk about this all the time. And the first thing I should be talking about is how proud I am the way I played and got, did the door gunner role. I kept telling myself after 35 years, go that way rather than talk. But the story's amazing of what I went through. And
you still had a great.
Then he almost died 3 days after filming him. After they gave him the role, he hits a tree, almost dies, and they call me up and they go, "Don't go anywhere. He had a bad car accident. You got the role back again." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Lord. He's alive, and I got my role back."
But you did.
And the insurance company stepped in and said, "You started with him. You're going to finish with him." They shut down production for 8 months while he was healing. They decided to cut the door gunner role out of the movie. Now I'm not even in the movie.
Right.
And 2 months after the movie was finished, wrapped, they decided to put the door gunner role back in. They asked me if I wanted to play it. And that's the fastest I've ever said that story. That's the story, though.
You still had one of the most iconic roles in that movie. I mean, everybody remembers that character.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I remember when I read the script, when I had the drill instructor role, I said, I want to see what the rest of the movie's like. And when I got to the door gunner, my first thought was, God, whoever plays that role is going to have a ball.
Correct.
Really? So I did connect to the scene. What people don't know about that scene is a lot of it was cut out. And one of the lines that was cut out, I stayed with that line and used it. And the line was, I sure do like shooting people.
Right.
And that line wasn't in the script. That was in the script. But that's the way I played the role. And Stanley wanted me to be very serious, and I wanted to have fun. And I laughed. And he first thing he said to me is, don't laugh like that anymore. Give me an everyday killer smile. And I walked around the helicopter. I said, Stanley, just because I was a Marine, went to Vietnam, do you think I know what an everyday killer smile is? And he said, don't worry about it. Just go up there and shoot the weapon. And I went over there and I started looking at the cameraman like, I want to talk. And I did the scene like I thought he wanted me to do it. And I jumped off the helicopter and I grabbed him by the neck. I went, Stanley? I found out later he don't like to be touched. And I said, Stanley, I'm almost 99% sure that I did exactly what you want me to do. And he looked at Leon Vitale, who was filming me and then videotaping me, and then they would show Stanley on the ground, and he would direct me, and I'd go back in the helicopter. He kind of nodded his head, yeah, he did. And Stanley looked at it and went, good, Tim. This angle's still off. Good, Tim. Go up and do it 13 more times just like that. And I did. And then a year went by, they edited, and the trailer came out, and I was all throughout the trailer. And my friend said, Timmy, you're in the trailer. I knew I made the movie then if I'd been in the trailer. Yeah, and shocked that scene became such a memorable scene.
Now, something I know, and because you told me, but a lot of people don't know is that Matthew Modine and the other actor were not in the helicopter with you. That was shot,
right.
Was shot separately, right? So who were you talking to?
I rehearsed for a week of talking to this guy over here and then talking to this guy, just eye contact, movement. I remember thinking, this is the way you have to act for the big movies, you know? Well, Stanley doesn't like to fly, is why he does films in London. And for some reason, I don't know why those other two guys, I saw them in a helicopter, another shot, but they wanted more money or something. They shot them on the ground. I don't know what the answer was, but they shot them before I got there. And I saw them at the airport in LAX. And I went, you shot the door gunner scene without me? And I thought, did they get another actor? You know? And they said, no, we just shot blew wind at us on the ground. So I had to go there and memorize their dialogue and time my dialogue without anybody giving me any dialogue back. They had a couple of extras that I could have to talk to, but they weren't talking. They were just bodies. Like they didn't talk, but they played their position in the helicopter over the shoulder. And somebody notices it in that one of tortured actors it is. They even show out the guy had something on his helmet and then this guy didn't. So there was an error, but it's hard to see. It's amazing that scene. It only took 3 takes to shoot all those people. I thought it was going to take a lot more. First 2 takes we weren't even close. The third take, I thought I shot them all. I shot 6,000 rounds for that one scene.
Holy cow.
I was up there 13 hours. I couldn't talk when I got done yelling from yelling all day. But, you know.
Where was that shot at?
London.
Oh, in London? Where were those fields?
Well, that's where we shot most of the movie in London. My scene was in a place called Norfolk, England, which is 278 miles northeast of London. So we had to drive. I stayed at Stanley Kubrick's house. I got to have cheese and crackers and wine with Stanley Kubrick. I mean, I'm thinking nobody's going to believe me. You know, it was fun. It was a fun experience, but I've done so much more since then, you know, that I got to move on. I wish there was another Stanley Kubrick movie I could talk about.
And you've had a really prolific career, a great character actor. You really served in the Marines. You really did serve in Vietnam. And not a lot of people know that. You took a lot of experience with you to that set. Then I think I saw you on an episode of Weeds where you were acting as a drill sergeant, right?
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. I've been wanting to play that role, and like years and years later, they saw every military-looking face in LA because the show was pretty hot at that time. Yeah. And they were looking for a drill instructor, and there was 20 callbacks, and I heard I was number 17, so I had to listen to a lot of them before I got in there. And I heard, and 5 of them were like WWF wrestlers, those big guys, and you could hear them yelling, but they didn't have that rhythm that the drill instructors have. You know, I'll give you a little. All right, listen up. It's my sorry ass job to inform you, ass felching, salad tossing, guzzling faggots. That ugly face you're staring at right now is one of the most important goddamn faces you ever lay your eyes upon. That is your battle buddy. Your battle buddy's like a Siamese twin. He shits, you shit. He fucks up, you fuck up. He goes down, you go down. 6 weeks from today, this entire group of Girl Scouts will be shipped over to Iraq. Make no mistake about it. I will rape each and every one of you before you will go. So you must pay perfect attention to every goddamn word comes out of my goddamn mouth. I do that in my show, and I go, "That's a tough line." They laugh.
So now you have a live show that you do. Tell us a little bit about what that's about. Tell us about
when Lee and me were the only Marines in that movie, Full Metal Jacket, and we had a bond because of that. I couldn't not. It's hard not to like. It's hard to be best friends with a guy who takes your dream away. Right. You know, but we didn't have I would have done the same thing he probably did. Right. Right. We played golf together. He was a little smug in film worker. I didn't like that. But then when he passed away and I went to his funeral, I heard some really great things that he didn't say anything bad about me, and it made me feel I respected him. And when he passed away, they showed Full Metal Jacket at the Leathernecks Club over here. It's a Marine Corps bar, and they asked me to speak, and Kevin Major Howard was there, and they handed me a Corona. I just got done teaching one of your classes, I think, and I ran over there after class, and the movie was all over with, and there's like 35 guys. They all look like they're just off their motorcycles with beards and patches and everything. And how'd you get the role? And I started telling stories, and somebody said, you got to do a one-man show. And Kevin said, I'm going to produce it. So I worked on it for about a year and a half. I did 8 shows before the pandemic, and I'm going to do one as soon as the Palms open up. So I have secured a stage there. Holds 115, and I'm really looking forward to making it really professional. I got a big screen behind me now. When I say I weighed 124 pounds. I can show that what I look like, you know.
Right.
If I show as a flight attendant, I can show what I look like. Rather than just keep telling the stories, I'm going to hire 2 dancers. There's going to be some dancing in it. There's a lot of comedy. What I just did with the Marine thing, I do Full Metal Jacket, and then I do that. And then I do some of my own Marine stories. I do some flight attendant stories that are really funny. I come at the end with something very serious about life. And women seem to like my show. I'm shocked. I thought it was going to be really a manly military show, but it's not.
You're a good-looking guy.
It's more like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has the what I'm telling them, what you're feeling. I have this one story I tell. It's 15 minutes called 0700. I had to get back to the base. And when I get to the end of that story, the audience claps. It's amazing. They start clapping that I made it. That's how interesting the story is.
Right.
You know, so it's my comedy is kind of like Bill Cosby. I tell stories, and then you never know when the joke's going to come in, and then it's a serious thing. Then it's oh my god, and then it's wow, and it's a joke again. But it keeps their attention, and it's working. So I'm not going to do a ton more of these, but I'm going to do a couple of big ones, and I'm going to be done with it. Move on to I got a couple of screenplays right now, and one's called The Birth of Pride, which is my military one that's really ready to go, and one I'm really excited about now, it's called On the Fly, about 2 male guys becoming flight attendants in the early 80s when it was fun to fly.
Yeah,
and,
excellent.
It's got everything. It's got sex, drugs, death, love, 6 sports in it. It's got comedy. It's got a good recipe to be something you would like to watch on the tube, you know. And it's in the hands of William Morris right now, and they're looking at casting. We're trying to get it to Zac Efron. I think he'd be perfect to play the guy. So I'm trying to get it to him right now. He's my first guy I think that I'd be excited to see play what I went through. A lot of it's a true story about what I went through. Yeah, I think I'm the only Marine ever became a flight attendant. And I use that in my comedy. I go, I guarantee you they weren't looking for a few good men when they hired me.
That's right. Now, so if somebody wanted to get some information about the show that you do, where would they best find that information?
Oh gosh, I broke away from. I'm no longer working with Kevin anymore, so I kind of moved on my own, and I might have to change the name from Get Some Tour to the Door Gunner Show, which is what I'm probably going to do. Right. I have an ambulance that's being rebuilt right now. They're going to have the logo of the machine gun that I have with Get Some. And I don't know if they can put Get Some or Door Gunner, but it's a pretty good thing. I'm not answering your question. I guess you know what? They can go to my email. It's timothycolceri@gmail.com right now. For sure, that'll get a hold of me. Because I don't know if my websites are still even up. Because I'm moving away.
Whenever your show is going to be playing somewhere, we can just post it here in DreamTraxx Academy's Facebook.
Oh, that'd be cool. I think whenever the Palm opens up, I'm probably going to do a rehearsal type of thing at the Leathernecks Club. Again, I can always go back there. It's not what I want stage-wise, but it's always a good place to work on my craft before I go for the big one. I'm going to do a big one with, it only holds 115 people. I'm bringing a lot of people, friends in from Arizona, California. I want it to be a really big show. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to get it off my mind. I'm always writing comedy all the time that works with it, and it's working. It's very, what it was like for 40 years old to 80 years old is kind of the clientele that really gets it. I had some college students, they really liked the flight attendant stuff, but the whole show is basically around people that know what it was like back when the word communism was said every day.
You're right. Yeah.
When we eat TV dinners and slept in water beds. And
yeah, no, I remember. So what are you doing nowadays? What are you doing?
With the pandemic, I didn't know what to do. I taught some kids in South Carolina. I went back there and taught for a while. It was great. It's funny. I take these 6-year-old kids and make them stand at attention, and they're so cute. I said, "Don't look at me. Don't be itching." And their parents are going, "How did you get my kids to do this?" And I taught an improv class back there that this one little girl, it was this cutest thing that she couldn't open it up. They were taking the psychiatrist and they just were worried about her. And when she was in my class, she had her hand up like this the whole time. And they looked at me and went, "Oh my God, we've never seen her like that in our whole life." She opened up and just had more fun. And my improv classes, they're all yes and everything's fun and positive. So I'm looking forward to getting back and doing that. I can't do that online because it's more of a physical. Improvs are physical; they're bigger. You need to be there. You know, the energy is the room is half the battle. So,
Yeah.
are we still doing that on Friday? By the next Friday, I mean.
You're still working too, though. I saw that you have some new credits on there on your IMDb, and
you know, I've done 2 films a year for like 30 some years. I think some 60 some films, but a lot of them I don't even never see again. You know, you work and never know what they're doing.
Wait,
some of them you're excited about. Some of them are just work.
I got to bring something up. So you are probably one of the most alpha male people I've ever met in my entire life. And you went to the Philippines and had to did a movie where you had to dress and cross, right?
Yeah. I've had to be a woman twice. In Leprechaun in space, he turns me into a woman too. I'm the most ugliest woman. I'm like a man woman.
I'm not even going to argue with that. You did not make a beautiful woman. Did you guys make your hairy legs and everything? I mean,
my legs are fine. My legs are better than half of the women out there. I got great wheels, but my face is too chiseled, man.
Did they make you walk in high heels or anything?
Oh yeah, and when you're doing that, you know, the one in the Philippines was kind of fun because I actually went out and purchased my own outfit.
Right.
And to find size woman 12 shoes in the Philippines, there wasn't a lot of choices. I think I found 3 pairs in the whole province. That was that. And I had like this little blonde bobby wig. And the blind guy, when we dressed him up, he looked like Shirley Temple. And then the 6'11" guy, and the 3 of us would be going around, and there'd be weddings, and they would stop the wedding and take photos of us. We were like the highlight of this little area in Davao, Philippines.
Yeah.
Oh, it was funny, man. And the blind guy, we have this one scene where we need some money, so I'm acting like a girl and trying to pick up some guy, and he rides up on his motorcycle. Hi, who do you want? Do you want Lady Gaga or Shirley Temple? And he goes, Shirley Temple. I go, who? Shirley Temple. I turn around, I go, he wants Shirley Temple. So it's that kind of stupid comedy, you know.
Yeah, I remember you showing me the pictures. That was pretty hilarious. Yeah. God got you right. You definitely were designed to be a man. That's good.
I'll take that as yes, that's true.
So, Tim, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and open it up to some questions for the next 20 minutes, and they'll come up. I'll read them, and then you can just answer them like you're talking to me. How's that?
Okay, I'm going to grab a drink real quick.
Okay.
I think I got some. Got it.
There you go. You still have some. There you go. Hit that water. Wow. Big Star drinking the Perrier.
Perrier, baby. Big Star.
No. Well, I mean, it's nothing too good for the guy that had wine and cheese and crackers.
Yeah, nobody can say that one. One thing about that Full Metal Jacket, it played last week. I don't get dime when that plays because we shot it in England. It's British equity. But that movie will play when I'm dead. I guarantee you. It just keeps playing. And it never gets old.
Right.
It got better with age, that movie.
Okay. Well, we have a question for you.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to new actors trying to get into the business?
It's a good question. Dedication and love for the project. If you don't have that, get out. It's a really tough competitive business. So it's going to be hard. So you got to go into thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get another job because I'm not going to be a pro right at it making a lot of money. So your long term is, I gave myself 2 years of training. After that, if I can't get any jobs, I was going to get out. Lucky for me, about 6 months later, I started landing some national commercials. They kind of say go from print to commercial to TV to film. There was like that rotation that you kind of went through. I wanted to go right to film. That was what I wanted to do more than anything. But the commercials pay so much, and they're hard to get. When you land them, that would pay your rent for a while. So I suggest, and they'll see anybody for a commercial. Yeah. It's hard to get a theatrical agent, and you're competing all the time to get a theatrical agent. How are they going to hire you if you've never done anything? So I suggest you take your headshot, go down to the drama school nearest by you, and a filmmaker's doing a film and say, here's my headshot. I'm an actor. Whenever you do your film, I like to be in it. Get as much experience as you can. Do your own films. Nowadays, they got these cameras. You can write and direct your own stuff. The more you get around it, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. But if you got to go for the long haul, it's a long way out before you start succeeding.
Now you're a very talented guy, but you bring a very specific talent that you have that you're very, very proud of to what you do. And that's kind of gives you a little niche in that part of the market, doesn't it?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, like you can do the rough, gruff drill sergeant if you need to,
Oh.
or whatever.
You know, actually, you're right. You need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I'm not very good at accents. I'm good at me being Timmy in that situation, and I go with that as hard as I can to make it real. You know, I've played a lot of different characters, but pretty much the most thing I've done is me being somebody in Full Metal Jacket said the scene of the Southern helicopter door gunner cheerfully announcing his box score of 157 came right out of Dr. Strangelove if it didn't have anonymously filled to it. That was syndicated in the newspaper right after the movie came out. And I thought, Southern? Do I sound Southern? You know, I wasn't trying to be Southern, but maybe I sounded a little to somebody. So I don't know. If there's one thing I would have done differently, I probably would have taken an accent course. One of my best friends, Mark Ralston, he's great at accents. And I was supposed to be a German. I was commandeering a boat, and I was a German commander or something. And I was so freaked out. I said, I can't do an accent. And he goes, take the W's and make them B's. Take the TH's and make them S's. So one of the lines was, how's the weather down there? And I did exactly what he said. And it was, so, how's the weather down there? And I went, oh, God, this is so much easier. And it was. And then I got cocky. I started going, so, how's the weather down there? Like I knew it. And I didn't get the role. But I sure did have fun doing it that way. And it really worked for me. So I wish I'd have taken that. I'm not really good at accents. But I think character actors, here's what I try to tell everybody. You want to play every role there is. Every one of them. And you'll find out which ones you can. I always thought I was a comedic actor, and I get all these dramatic yelling roles, you know. Who knows? But there's a lot. You want to do them all. You're going to find your strengths and weaknesses. I think it took me 15 years to be able to cry on cue. And I had to cry in front of 5,000 people at the, what's that Tom Cruise place?
The 4th of July?
It's in L.A. Oh, gosh. It's a cult place in LA. What do they call it? Anyway, I had to do it in front of 5,000 people live, and I did it. So that was one of my weaknesses I had to work on for a long period of time. And yeah, starting out in this business, it's hard. I'm still doing stuff for free. You know what I mean? I just love what I do. I've never ever thought about the money ever. That's why I don't really have a lot, but I have a lot of films, a lot of credits because I like working. I enjoy doing what I do. I love being on the set, being challenging, grabbing that character and figuring out what I'm going to do with him.
Right. Yeah. You've done it very well. You've done it very well over the years.
Well, thank you.
And you're a good guy. You're my friend. I've known you for a long time, and you know you're one of the most decent people I know.
Frank, right back at you, buddy. Right back at you.
Thank you so much. So let's see. Do we have another question? Sometimes the questions have to come through. They have to come through the thing, and they don't show up on our end. So the person my producer, who's in the back, sometimes has to put them up. So if you see the same name coming up, it's because she's reading them off of.
I get it.
And then she's posting them for us. So, all right, I guess we don't have a question right now. So let's go ahead and now you acting wasn't even something that you were like even thinking about. It wasn't even dreaming about it, right? You were
no.
Just kind of felt you kind of like the opportunity kind of hit you, right? And then you just kind of said, okay.
Well, I grew up in Arizona. You know, we didn't have any. If I grew up in LA, I'd have been in acting a lot sooner. I never seen dialogue on a piece of paper before, and all I did was play sports. And after the Marines, after college, I tried to play professional golf for 3 years, and I cut a tendon in my finger, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I was tired of just being known as a golfer my whole life. Wanted to do something else, and somehow I got on to be an airline flight attendant for Braniff. It took me like 3 years to get hired, but once I got on, it was a great job, and I got based from Dallas. and they opened a base in LA, and I flew to Hong Kong, Singapore, Seoul, and Guam. And a friend from college said, "You ever thought about acting?" I said, "No, it's not. Never been in my ideas of wanting something I want to do." He goes, "You got a lot of energy. Why don't you come to my acting class?" And I go, "Okay." So Wednesday would come, and I didn't really want to go, and I made an excuse. I did that 7 times in a row. He asked me to go, and 7 times I made a lame excuse. The 8th time, I couldn't think of any more excuses. I went, "Okay, I'll go to this stupid acting class."
Right.
And I went there, and I saw this guy yelling at this girl, and they clapped. And the next one was funny, and they clapped. And I looked at the teacher. I said, "I don't know you, and you don't know me, but I know I can do that."
Right.
And he said, "Bring the sheet music next Wednesday. You're going to sing with a live band, and you're going to do your scene." I go, "No, I don't sing. I can do that, but I'm not a singer." I sing so bad. One time I was singing in the shower, and the water went off.
Yeah.
And he kind of laughed. And then I came back the next day, and I remember my first line ever was, "Mr. Anderson from Western Glass Company. I'm here to take the measurements you wanted." So I stepped off the stage. I looked, there's a little bathroom, and I looked in the mirror and looked at myself in the mirror, and I knocked on the door. That door opened up about 6 inches, and all these eyes went right through that crack right at me. And I went, "Ooh, look at all those eyes." And I said, "Hi, I'm Mr. Anderson from Western Glass Company. Here to take the measurements you wanted. Come on in." And I walked in, and I started moving around. And I got halfway through the scene. I thought, wow, I wish I'd remembered to act like I had a ruler, you know? So I just stopped in the middle of the scene. And the teacher looked at me like, "What'd you stop for?" Because I was so interesting. He's like weirded out why I stopped. I forgot something. So I did the scene again, and I came in. This time I started measuring while I was talking. And then, and I did the scene. And this actress I was working with had been there like 3 years. And he said, "When he did this, you did this. When he did this, he did that. And he did this." And then all of a sudden he looked at me and he goes, "This is what we call a born natural." And all of a sudden people were coming up to me going, "You're really good." I go, "I'm good at acting? This is what I'm good at?" Really, that's exactly how it went. And I go, "Okay, I'll give it a couple of years. If I don't make any money, I'm getting out." And then I got addicted to I couldn't wait to get another scene in my hand. I was one of those students. If I was like 15 minutes late, they wouldn't let me work. And sometimes I'd be in a car accident bleeding and trying to get to class, you know? And I had a car accident, I was bleeding. I was 15 minutes late, wouldn't let me work. I couldn't wait to do another scene. You know?
Another question for you. How did you end up getting, it's just from our YouTube channel, how did you get comfortable in auditions?
How did I get comfortable where?
In auditions. How did you end up getting
I'll tell you how you get comfortable in auditions. Be prepared.
Yeah.
I was prepared when I walked in there. You don't think I was, you know, one thing we have to do as actors, the only thing we got to do is memorize. That's our job. And you go in your room, don't be anybody distracting you, and you just go over it over and over and over, and you start blocking how you're going to say the lines. You got 6 foot, no matter what project you're doing to cast, you got about 6 feet to make move. You stand on your mark and just talk like 90% of them, you're not unique. If you move into that mark and you move away from that mark as you're talking, you're going to be much more interesting. So blocking in a scene, being prepared when I'm going to go in and do what I want to do, and not making a mistake. Right. And I don't anymore. If I did, I'm you know, sometimes we're our worst critiques too. You know, you got to be, it's tough. I just know how competitive it is. It's not so competitive here in Vegas as it is in Los Angeles. You know,
yeah,
you're going up against great actors all the time.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But, you know, I always teach my students, you know, you go into these auditions and you see people that you've seen on TV. You see people, you think, "Oh my gosh, I can't audition against them because, well, you know, they're well known, they're famous." But that really
don't think that way.
To do with it, does it?
I you know, one thing I take pride in is I'm so into doing what I need to do. I don't care who else is in front of me. It could be Dustin Hoffman, and I wouldn't go, "Oh my God, I get to work with Dustin." I'm going, "Come on, Dustin, me and you, baby, me and you, let's go." You know what I mean? I've never ever felt like anybody's better than me or worse than me. I'm doing my job, and you know, I get mad at myself if I don't do a good job. And the best thing about it is, we can do it over and over again until we hear cut. No, it didn't work. Let's try another one. You know, that's one thing. You're doing a live show I'm doing. I get one shot at it now. I better be prepared.
Okay.
But before, pardon me?
We have another question.
Okay.
Okay. What? I guess it's what's your recommendation for actors who are trying comedy but they don't know how to approach the character?
Comedy is timing. It's basically writing is like 1, 2, 3 funny. It's always that way. It's not just ha ha ha. It has its beats. It has its timing and rhythm. It's people say comedy. It's not. It's a little bit more over the top, bigger.
Yeah.
The same way when I'm teaching commercials, it's always bigger because they're trying to get their attention. The louder you are, the more energy you are. That's what they're looking for in the commercial. So it's important to know what you're acting for. Is it an action film? Is it a comedy? Is it a thriller? Is it whatever it is? You have to learn to act according to what you're reading for.
Right.
So comedy, the question of comedy is basically timing, I guess, and a little bit bigger. Is that kind of what I should be answering the question with? Like, is that what he wants?
Whatever you think. I think they're wanting your opinion on that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you should be afraid of it. How to approach the character. I think that was the other part of the question. I approach the character once again, like how would I be if that was me in that situation? And then I take everything around, everything. So if you only got like 3 pages, find everything you can about that character. Because this doesn't matter what you say, but how you say it. And you have different reasons of why you're saying it that way. So once you know the reason why you're saying that line, it's a lot easier to act that way. If you don't know a reason, then you better be smart enough to give it 3 different flavors and figure out what one of them might work.
I think for a lot of people too, it's that fear of having the joke fall flat. But you can't have that fear because if you don't take the risk, there's no reward.
That is one of the things I always answer. One thing I tell everybody, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid of failure. Learn from your failures. But don't be afraid. And that's why I also say in my show, the credit belongs to the man who's in the arena, who's marred by dust, sweat, and blood. And if he fails, at least he fails daring greatly, rather than those cold and timid souls who've never tasted victory nor defeat. You know, Teddy Roosevelt said that. That's one of the things I say at the end of my show. And I also have another beautiful thing that comes right after that about life. And I wasn't afraid to jump in and try it, you know, and I failed a lot. I think recently I had to do a motivational speech where I talked about all my failures, you know, and after a while I wanted to say I've done okay, even though I did a lot of, and some of them are funny failures, you know. You remember that Crystal Light commercial? Because I believe in me. You remember that one?
Yeah.
They were looking for dancers. I said, I can dance. And I've danced, but I'm not a professional dancer. And these are like professionals, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm in the back. I'm trying to catch up, you know, and learn this dance. And it would have been hysterically funny. And because the guy knows I'm not like the other ones. Right. So now we've learned it. Now we got to get off to the right. Now do it solo in front of the camera. And in the middle of this one part, you get to do whatever you want. And this one guy's doing back handsprings and like a gymnast. And I went over there and I didn't know what to do. So I did a handstand in the middle of the room after.
Yeah.
I mean, stupid things I tried to do, but I learned from that. I wasn't afraid to fail, you know. I wasn't afraid to jump back in and try another venue and find out what my strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And, you know, I don't know of anybody who's successful at anything that didn't spend a lot of time failing at it.
Yeah, that's true. So you can't be worried about failure, but you know, if you're not getting callbacks, I suggest you go get another job. If you're getting callbacks, it means you're close. That means you're in the running.
All right. Yeah. Or you keep training, you know. Uh-oh, did I lose you? Tim?
Sorry.
All right. That's okay.
I'm back on. Jeez.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but it takes time to get to the point where you're getting callbacks. It doesn't happen right away. You gotta pay your dues and
right. Well, I think this says something like 18-to-1 interviews before you get the job. That's amazing. So I mean, if as long as you know that, it might not be that. That's the other thing. You know, I remember when I first started acting, and they've been working for 3 years, and they're in the advanced class. I'm in the intermediate class. Well, what makes the difference between a good actor and a bad actor? It's either you're good or you're not. That's it. Doesn't matter what class you're in, how many years you've been doing it. It doesn't. It matters what's right for that role. You come in and nail that role. Doesn't matter if you've been doing it 50 years or just started. But experience, oh my God. We don't get to teach the blocking in the technical aspect of acting. Most acting classes don't teach that. They do a scene. When we're acting as an actor, man, it's 4 hours of doing the same scene over and over again, and you have to be angled every movement, your eye has to go there. You have to move you're like a robot,
Right?
you know. People don't understand that the technical aspect until you're actually doing it.
No,
and that's something that experience is far better than any acting class.
Yeah, that's why, part of the school here at DreamTraxx, I know you know that already, but we do the on-camera classes, and we also on Saturdays we actually focus on blocking.
Well, good.
And moving into the scene. So yeah, because I know what a critical thing that is, and you can't sit there constantly being in character trying to think, okay, where's the camera now? You gotta know.
Well, there's a lot of connection going on as an actor. You got to connect to your partner. You got to connect to the scene. You got to connect to the character, and you got to connect to the camera. They're all in connection. So it takes a lot of focus. But as far as I think what helped me the most is when I started thinking in my scene preparation before I do the audition, I direct the scene the way I would direct it. And if you start thinking that way, at least you have an idea of how you're going to move in that scene.
Right.
And they tell you never to put your back to the camera. I was playing a role to play a warden, and my dialogue was, I know your reputation, Agent Broderick, and I realize you've come a long way, but I'm not going to postpone this thing 10 minutes. And it was with Scott Glenn. It was in Utah. And I actually booked the scene, and they shot it exactly the way I did in the audition. The camera was here. I started with my back to the camera, and I went, I know your reputation, Agent Broderick. And I realize you've come a long way. I'm not going to postpone this thing 10 minutes. I've seen the physical evidence. Come 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm going to flush this piece of shit down the toilet. See how I moved into it, though? And they shot that scene just like that. They had me look out a window of 150 extras holding signs, thou shalt not kill. And then I slowly said the line and moved into talking to the other actor. I got lucky on that because you're not supposed to turn your back to the camera, but it worked for that particular scene.
Right. Yeah.
And you're dealing with 100 other people, probably 10 people that are going to come in and audition for that role. You do one little thing different that makes you unique, they're going to remember you. So you got to think outside the box every time you go in there.
Okay, we got time for one more question. Somebody's asking, what are your recommendations for actors who are dealing with the anxiety of having no callbacks so far?
Ooh. Well, then you better find out if you're getting up for the right roles. You might be reading for roles that you're just not right for. Make sure you know what your strengths and weaknesses are so you can go in there and nail it. If you're not getting any callbacks, you try to find out try to look back and think what you could have done differently to make it better.
It's also how long have they been at it, right? I mean, if you're just getting started, you're not really going to see very many callbacks at first.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I got a call back on my very first commercial I ever read for. So
yeah, but you started with some very rare natural talent.
Yeah.
The rest of us humans have to.
Well, I used to not think it could be taught, and I saw a guy doing two classes a day. 2 classes a week, and he got better and better. And finally, he started booking. So they can be taught. It's just like anything else. Some people learn it faster. I used to believe that it was like singing like an opera voice. I can't do that. I can't draw. But for some reason, in front of a camera, I can talk. But still, I talk too fast. I have to slow down. I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, and you got to know them too. And give yourself a goal, a year or two. If you don't start making any money or not getting any callbacks, maybe this is not a job for you. It's very competitive out there. So I try to be as honest as I can as a teacher. Even if you're good, it's hard,
It's hard.
But it's so rewarding. It's one of those that, Stanley Kubrick said, Tim, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
You would. Hey, Tim, we're up for today. I really want to just thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate having you. Let's try to get together sometime later next week and have lunch or something.
Okay, buddy.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you later.
Wear your ears out.